Hello and welcome to the second week's lecture on international logistics management. This week is just like a follow up on the discussion of last week, which was the introduction of logistics management. So, last week might be a heavy load of information for you, but we did not discuss all of those information in details. We were just tapping. Um, on the very top of the information. We did not really dive into the depths of the issues and concerns and the procedures of the international logistics management. But in second, so starting this week up to the last week, we will now tackle each item individually, and we'll try to dive as deep as we can when it comes to the information and, of course, the the understanding the procedures of all these complicated processes in logistics. So now, second week talks about the globalization of trade. It's a logistical perspective. So here we are going to explore how globalization has transformed international trade and logistics. Because before in the 1700s, probably in the 1800s, uh, there wasn't much of a global exchange of goods. So logistics was and trading was done very locally. Although there were already existential institutions and establishments that have been that were conducting international trade. You know, like the silk trade in China and the spices trade in India. So they already existed, they already happened, but they were not developed very well because there wasn't too many exchange of goods globally. So the trading and the exchange of goods, and so that means the delivery as we exchange these goods and services happened locally. Okay, but globalization, which opened the idea of the international trade and logistics. So we will look at these issues, look at these procedures, look at the concerns, and how it really works. So defining globalization in trade. This is from the book of Adzija. By the way, the book is also posted on your LMS, and you can download the copy of the book if you want to download a copy of the book. This is an open access book. This is published by Robert Adzija, a professor of international logistics management at Conestoga College in Ontario, Canada. Okay. So number one, interconnected economies. So globalization links national economies through international trade and investment. So and now we are. I wouldn't say that we are at the height of globalization yet, because I think we still have a lot of matters and things to explore when it comes to globalization. But eventually, we are here. We are already maximizing the ideology of globalization because we have already linked our economies through international trade. So, for example, whatever the other country lacks and the other country has a lot of these products to produce, then we supply. Like, for example, in the Philippines, we have a big supply of bananas and I mean, a big production of bananas, a big production of pineapples, a big production of mangoes. And we supply to the other countries that do not produce these tropical fruits. So we supply mangoes, bananas, and pineapples to Japan, to South Korea, to China, even. And and that is how our economy is linked to their economy, because if the economy of China or Japan or China, I mean South Korea, would go bad, then that means their buying power to buy international products will not be strong. And if it will not be strong, then that means they couldn't afford these international products anymore. And if they couldn't afford it, then that means the sales would go down. That also means that the Philippines' profit and revenue in exporting bananas, pineapples, and mangoes would also go down. So that means our economy will also go down if their economy goes down. So that's now globalization links our economies with each other in the same way that uh, electronic products usually come from South Korea, Japan, and China. And since Southeast Asian countries do not have factories and do not have manufacturing establishments that make electronic products like how they do it in Japan, China, and Korea, they're also supplying it to us. So most of our cars, our cell phones, our televisions, our radios, our appliances, they come from China, they come from Japan, they come from South Korea. And if the economies of these Southeast Asian countries, most of the Southeast Asian countries are developing economically or third world countries. However, as we developed our economies, we also give our people the buying power, the consumer power. And if they have the consumer's power or the buying power, then they can afford to buy these appliances from South Korea. They can afford to buy these cars from Japan. They can afford to buy these technological gadgets and other products from China. And if we buy, then that means we're also giving back sales and profit to these countries who manufacture these products. So that means their economy is also linked to our economy. And that's how globalization works. Our economies become linked to each other. Number two, globalization reduced barriers. So it involves lowering trade barriers and increasing border movement of goods. So um, that means the production will increase, the profit will increase because we do not limit the delivery and the movement of goods locally, since now the international market or the international consumers are being tapped or are being supplied. So we increase our production, we increase our profit, we better our economy, and we supply around the world. So global, and to be able to increase our economy, and to we need to increase our profit, and to be able to increase our profit we need to supply to those countries that need our products. And for us to supply to those countries that need our products, we need to reduce the barriers. Okay, so that means, although as we have discussed last week in the introduction to logistics management, that there are regulations and policies that are required. There are procedures and bureaucratic processes that need to go through. But at least with globalization, these bureaucratic processes can be trimmed down to a shorter process. These policies that can block the movement of goods can be changed or can be eliminated. That's what I have said last week. An example that I gave last week was Australia not accepting products made of wood from other countries because they are afraid that these wooden products, will bring in microbioorganisms from outside Australia. And eventually, when it enters the borders of Australia, it can affect the biodiversity of Australia. So, and how do we do that? To reduce the barriers, Australia created a policy. Okay, we can accept wooden products outside of Australia as long as they underwent through a proper chemical treatment, and they are certified that they are fully chemically treated, that they no longer have any living microorganisms in them. Okay, so see, we reduce the barriers. Policies can change, um, and then bureaucratic procedures can be shortened. Uh, Globalization also leads to technological advancements. So, communication and transportation technologies have accelerated to global trade integration. Of course, there are certain products that do not have a lifespan, or should I say, there are certain products that have a shorter lifespan, and there are certain products that have longer lifespan. So we cannot just rely on sea freight or shipping. We cannot just rely on rail transport or road transport if the products have a shorter lifespan, because by the time that they arrive to the countries of destination, or by the time that they arrive to their destinations and to the consumers, will no longer be able to use them. The customers will no longer buy them because because their lifespan has ended. So now we have advanced our communication technologies. We have advanced our transportation technologies. We have now freight, which is like the air shipping to make things faster. We now have technologies that can maintain frozen products so that their lifespan will be longer, and that by the time that they will arrive to their destination, they are still fresh, and their lifespan, they are still usable, they are still consumable. And cultural exchange, of course, with the global exchange of products, we also exchange our cultures. Um, is because food is one of the factors that uh, composes culture. And because of globalization, we are able to share our food and our identity as a country to other countries. Now you don't need to go to China to experience and taste what uh what a ginger candy is like. You can just go to Chinatown, and you can go to or an Asian grocery store, and you can buy a ginger candy. As what I've explained last week, our example is on the banana ketchup that is made from the Philippines, and now that are available here in the United States at the Asian grocery store. So if you want to try a banana ketchup, you can just go to an Asian grocery store. But again, I think I've mentioned that last week too, that buyers are at high risk of making a lot of losses, since the banana ketchups are being recalled and they're no longer available because of uh, be, because of certain regulations from the government, that they found a content in the banana ketchup that might expose its consumers or its buyers at risk of cancer. Okay. So key drivers of trade globalization, you have, of course, information technology. The advanced information technology systems enable efficient global supply chain management. Um, because of the web, the World Wide Web, we are now being interconnected with each other. We can now see what's happening in other countries. We can see what products they consume, and we get, curious about these products, and sometimes, because we get curious, we want to try these products. And that's why now the products that you produce in your home countries will no longer be just marketable, or the demand will no longer be just locally. There will also be an international demand, or there will also be an international need to supply these products. Okay, for example, these Korean beauty products. Uh, so a lot of people in the world can see how the Koreans have really nice, smooth, beautiful skin, we can see through other IT, through the web, especially through YouTube, through TikTok. You can see how ladies and men show off their nice, beautiful skin as they use these Korean products. So now these Korean products, there is no longer a demand locally, but there is now a sudden demand of these Korean beauty products internationally. And that's why, because there is a demand, the company must supply that demand. Otherwise, it will be a lost opportunity. Okay. Next, transportation innovations. Of course, because of the innovative transportations that we have from car. I mean, if you have a chance to go to this little town, Danish town on the hills of Santa Barbara, it's called Solvang. Um, if you go to Solvang, and if you go to this museum in Solvang, you will see that their methods of transportation before to travel to Solvang and from Solvang is only the stagecoach. They call it a stagecoach. It means it's a carriage pulled by two horses, and if it's a bigger carriage, it's being pulled by four horses. So I am imagining how difficult and challenging the road and the way to Solvang back then, because right now, driving to Solvang is even far. It takes like with your car that can drive up to 80 miles per hour or 90 miles per hour, it would take you 2 hours to get to Solvang from Los Angeles. So, how much more back in the days that they were only traveling by stagecoach, by a carriage driven by horses. And now we have freeways, we have superhighways, the roads are big, the infrastructures to go to Solvang is just well fixed, beautiful roads, big roads, wide roads. I can just imagine back then that there were no proper roads. It was just like rocky roads, rough roads. So just imagine how challenging it is to go to Solvang. So you can understand that because of the limited forms of transportation in the past, there wasn't much trading that happened because it's difficult to trade. And maybe again, as I've mentioned about the lifespan of products, if your product has a shorter lifespan, by the time it gets to Solvang, it's no longer of use. It's no longer of value. So now, because of transportation innovations, like if you go for a sea freight, they are now into containers, and because these containers can fit as many as it can. And because of these big technological cranes that can carry these containers, you don't need a lot of manpower to carry things nowadays. You just have all these machineries to do that for you. It would be faster to ship products. And because of these container vans that you can put on top of each other, so that means a one ship can carry and can deliver as many products as it can all together. So that means all these companies that are shipping into that one ship, they are sharing the cost of the manpower, they are sharing the cost of the gasoline of the ship, they are sharing the cost of the everything of the ship. So that means if you're sharing the cost, then the cost of shipping will go down. It will become cheaper, it will become affordable. And so transportation innovation makes the shipping faster, easier, and cheaper. Now, trade agreements, there will always be trade agreements. This involves, again, government policies, government regulations. Trade agreements have lowered tariffs and trade barriers. So, and this is what I've said, like Australia had to make an agreement because if Australia had to be very strict and tighten its barriers from other countries of the world not accepting wooden products, then the other countries of the world can do the same. They can tighten their barriers and not accept Australian products. If that will be the case, Australian products will only be consumed and will only make profit and will only make sales within Australia. So that means the income potential of Australian products is not maximized because they can only sell their products within. So that is why Australia has to change its policies. Now, wooden products from abroad can enter Australia if it undergoes through a proper chemical treatment. In that way, Australia is going to welcome international wooden products to its countries. And because it welcomes international products to its countries, other countries would also welcome Australian products. Okay. In the same way with tariffs. So if you can have an agreement, and this is what Donald Trump. I'm getting political right now, but this is what Donald Trump may not have understood, because what Donald Trump said, all American products, all American produced products, we will not tax them so that they will become cheap, which is very good. A lot of consumers, a lot of buyers will be happy because they can now buy American products within America. So that means the sales of the American products will increase within America because the prices have gone down because they took away the taxes. Now, the question is, the economists are asking, you are going to lose taxes from the American products. Where will we get this money? Because losing taxes from American products, I do not know, maybe it can be $2 billion a year. American consumers, the people with inside the United States, will be happy because American products will be cheap because there are no more taxes. But the government will have a problem where to get the money back. If the government makes $2 billion a year from the taxes of products that you buy, where can the government get this money back? And Trump said, okay, let's increase the taxes of international products. So now they are increasing the taxes of Chinese products, they are increasing the taxes of European products, they are increasing the taxes of Asian products. So when you increase the products, when you increase the taxes of these products, you will eventually get the money back. The question is, will you get the money back? When these products are tax doubled, most likely the sales will go down because the interest of buying these products will no longer be as good as before. Okay, some people in America would be like, why would I buy a Chinese product or a China made product when its price is almost the same as an American made product? And it's almost the same because the American product has no more tax, it's cheaper. The Chinese product has doubled tax, it becomes more expensive. So, what's going to happen? This is what Donald Trump may not have seen. I don't know why, but I'm sure he has seen this. He is a businessman. He understands globalization very well. But this is not. But some businessmen do not understand the idea of globalization when it comes to the economic vantage or the economic vision of globalization. Many businessmen fail to do this. So what's going to happen with the other international products that Trump will double the tariffs or double the taxes because he needs to make up for the lost taxes because he doesn't want to tax the American products. Now, these products will now sell slowly in America. Now, the countries who are selling these products will now question why. What happened? We had these sales before. If we were making $2 billion before, how come we're only making $1 billion now? What happened to the other $1 billion? It's lost. Why is it lost? And then they will find out, oh, because America doubled our taxes. And that's why we are not making so much money in America because no one wants to buy our products because the taxes are doubled. What are we going to do? We are also going to double tax American products. So what's going to happen? The American products that are made in the United States, they may have increased their sales within America, but they will lose their sales in Europe, they will lose their sales in China, they will lose their sales in Asia, they will lose their sales in Australia because these countries will also retaliate. If you increase our tariffs, we will also increase your tariffs. And that's what's going to happen. There will be an increase of sales locally, but there will be a decrease of sales internationally. And how much is the population of consumers outside America? Of course, you have 4 billion consumers outside America. You only have 300 million consumers inside America. You may have increased the 300 million people sales, but you lost the 4 billion people sales. So what's going to happen? It will impact the economy. So still, I don't think that Trump is going to, if he has really good economic advisors, I don't think that he will push for that no tax for American products. There should be a trade agreement. There should be like an international policy agreement to control the taxes of international products as our economies are interlinked. That is what globalization is telling us. Now, impact on logistics operations. So we have supply chain complexity. Global trade has increased the complexity of supply chains requiring sophisticated management techniques. Very good. Because yes, I mean, uh, in your if you are, let's just say for example, you might have a very simple business. You have a banana plantation in the Philippines. You are supplying for the bananas in the Philippines, but because you also see the potential and of profit and sales if you supply bananas to Vietnam, Thailand, Myanmar, Cambodia, China, so you tap those potentials, okay? So because you are now expanding and you are now reaching out to a much bigger market, so therefore it needs a sophisticated technique because complexities can happen. Inventory management, this is very important if you are supplying around the world. Inventory systems have become crucial for efficient global operations. Uh, we will be discussing inventory management in the next coming weeks, and of course the risk management, like what are your decisions and strategies that you have planned, or do you have any backup plans, or did you already go through the risk assessment with your products? When it comes to environment issues, we do not know. Again, we do not know if the plane that carries your product might crash. We do not know if the boat that carries your product might sink or might be hostage by pirates. We do not know. So at least you already have a risk assessment and a risk management strategies to make up to the possible losses. We already discussed this one. These are the technological advancements in globalization. We have containerization. That means putting in containers, because if unlike before, you can just like put products in boxes on the ship. But because of containers, you can put more products and you can pile them up together. More products. So that means more people, more companies are sharing the cost of the delivery. And then the electronic data interchange systems, the EDI systems. These improves the information flow in global supply chain. Um, then in most recently, we have the RFID technology, which is known as the radio frequency identification. This enhanced the tracking and inventory management capabilities. So before there was the EDI. Remember we talked about the invoice that should be there. The buyers, what do you call this one? Um, the shippers documents should be in there. But now, because of all these technological advancement, you can even trace what happened to the product that you shipped. Where is it now, and when is your customer, or does your client expects to get it? And recently, in 2020s, we have the AI and blockchain that are optimizing logistics globally. What are the challenges in global trade? Of course, regulatory compliance. That's what I've said about the Trump example. If there is no global trade agreement, if the customs and procedures are so bureaucratic and they don't change, if their policies are very selfish and they don't care about other countries, they don't care about the countries of origin where these products come from, that can be a big challenge. Okay, infrastructure disparities. Again, what I've said, this can be a big challenge because if you do not have the same infrastructures available, then it will be very difficult to deliver the products on time. So, if the country of destination or the place of destination where these products will be delivered, if they do not have proper roads, then most likely the delivery will be delayed. And again, we have products that have shorter lifespans. So, that can be a challenge. Cultural differences, again, this will be a challenge, especially when it comes to the language barrier and communication issues, on which can cause the delay of the delivery, which can even cause the cancellation of the delivery, which can even cause issues in the borders. Okay, and of course, environmental concerns. We also discussed that anything that can impact the global transportation and logistics that involves environment is a challenge, and this is really a challenge. Um, so we cannot foretell the typhoons and their strengths and their speeds. And what if the ship that carries your product gets into the Pacific Ocean by the time a typhoon was um, forming up? Oh my God, that can be a high risk. So there are trade facilitation measures. So there are four, in fact. We have single window systems. Then we also have the authorized economic operator programs. There's the trade corridors, and there's the digital customs. So what are these facilitation measures? Number one, centralized platform for submitting standardized trade information and documents. So um, this is done through the computer, where, like, for example, and you can see this one through in DHL, in FedEx. Okay, that wherever FedEx or wherever DHL you go, you can just, or even in your computer, they will give you a tracking number. You can access the tracking number and you can actually see. Okay, so any DHL office can track your product. Any DHL office can give you a feedback about your product because they have a centralized platform for submitting standard trade information and documentation. Okay, then we have the authorized economic operator programs. This is a certification for trusted traders to expedite custom procedures. Okay. Um, Only for trusted traders. Okay, so that means these traders have already proven that all their products and all the products that they have traded are legally acquired and legal to enter the countries of destinations. Okay, trade corridors, these are designated routes with streamlined procedures for efficient cross border movement. So, again, trade corridors, these are corridors wherein the two countries that are close or near to each other have come up with a trade agreement, an agreement on the free movement and free access of their products and goods and services. So, for example, the Association of Southeast Asian Nation. In 2015, we had the ASEAN Integration Forum, or we had the ASEAN Integration Movement, wherein the Association of Southeast Asian Nation is trying to copy the European Union procedures or policies. But they learned from the EU and the mistakes of the EU, so they wanted to implement the ASEAN integration with better policies and with better considerations on on a lot of matters. Okay, so during that time from 2012 to 2014, there has been a yearly ASEAN open forum and discussion from the socials, from the uh, what do you call this, from the NGOs, the non-governmental organizations, from the governmental organizations, from the private sectors, from the public sectors, from the business sectors, so that everyone can openly raise their issues or concerns. So now with the ASEAN integration, one of the key factors that were raised and that were discussed is an open trade to all ASEAN products within ASEAN. So that means any Filipino products can enter any ASEAN products with lesser conditions, lesser regulations, lesser checks, lesser bureaucratic procedures. In the same way, all other ASEAN countries, like for example, Indonesian products can enter and be traded within any ASEAN countries with, again, with lesser restrictions. The same thing with Singaporean products entering other ASEAN countries. And this is why Japan is very much interested to join the ASEAN. Even if Japan is in East Asia, he wanted to join ASEAN because of that policy, that we are creating trade corridors within ASEAN. That means any ASEAN products can be moved, can be received, can be transported, can be delivered to other countries that are members of ASEAN with lesser restrictions. Okay. Then we have digital customs, electronic systems for customs declaration and risk management. Of course, what I've told you, you have your custom brokers who will check and certify if the products that are delivered are acceptable and legal, or yeah, legally acceptable, or are bound for restrictions. It's the custom brokers who can do that. But because of digital customs, there is now lesser interaction with custom brokers, and these are the declarations are just made um, electronically, and that means it has lesser corruption on the custom brokers issues and lesser risk involved. So the role of e-commerce in global trade, again, when we say about e-commerce, it's electronic commerce. I've made an example about that Korean products, wherein the Korean products are available and supplied within South Korea at first, but because of social media, you now have YouTube, you now have Facebook, you now have TikTok. The knowledge of these Korean beauty products are you know, expanded throughout the world, wherein other people can see that there are Korean beauty products that are cheaper, that are very effective, that would bring this glowed, beautiful skin. So now there is a market to tap because there is a demand of Korean beauty products. So how can you do that one? You can create e-commerce. That means you don't need an actual store for your products in other countries. The customers can just log into your website and can order their products. And when they order their products, that is when global trade comes in. Because when they start to order, you are now getting a customer outside of your country. And because they ordered and they paid you, you need to supply, you need to provide that product that was paid to you. So, and because you now are supplying outside your country, you are now involved in global trade. And because in order for that product to arrive to that destination, to arrive to that international customer, then you now involved in international logistics. Okay. Uh, Global trade also involves consumer behavior shift. Now, online shopping has been, as what I've said, online shopping is very much more lucrative right now compared to the actual shopping in the stores. And then you have the last mile logistics. E-commerce growth has intensified focus on efficient last mile delivery. Okay. Cross-border transactions. So digital platforms facilitate seamless international payments. So you don't need to send cash. You don't need to send checks. Digital platforms can buy the products, and you just have to ship the products. Oh, the future trends in global trade and logistics. I'm not sure if this is going to happen soon, but I'm not even sure if. See, you can see there that there's a drone delivering products. I'm not sure if that can happen. So the key takeaways for this week's class is global integration. That means our economies are linked, and we can and our economies are dependent with each other as we trade our products internationally. Technological revolution. This means the advancements in technology makes globalization uh, more effective, and it also helps in the efficiency of international logistics. Adaptive strategies. Successful global trade requires adaptability to diverse challenges and regulations. Of course, we understand the challenges and regulations, and we need to get away with it. We need to find a way to solve or find a solution for these challenges. Otherwise, if we cannot find a solution to these diverse challenges, then we will be falling behind. And of course, future opportunities. These are emerging trends that offer new possibilities for efficient logistics management and global trading. I mean, every opportunity wherein you can sell, even if you can notice that there are Martians, if aliens exist and aliens want your products, you might as well sell because it's a lost opportunity if you don't sell it. It's a lost market if you don't sell it. The only concern now is how are you going to deliver it? Okay. So, understanding these concepts is crucial for navigating the ever evolving landscape of global trade and logistics. That's according to Adzija. Again, you can download his book, it's already uploaded in your LMS. So, thank you for listening for this week's lecture, and I'm hoping forward to see you again next week. Thank you very much.